I tried to, and it's a long story, but eventually I did set up one of them with Sergeant Dial, and we went down to Southstone, and he walked out. I wasn't there 5 minutes. I started asking him questions about his constitutional general orders, and he asked me if I was recording, and I wouldn't answer his questions, and he says, if you don't, I'm leaving, and he left. He ended the interview. So he wouldn't let me do it because he thought I was recording, and he asked me if I was live streaming. So I was not able to complete that. So I'm here to get contempt of court charges on him, Sergeant Chandler, who wouldn't respond either, and Aguilar. The other ones I was able to, Roberts, I was able to do. And after they set all their conditions to do it at Southstone, they changed their mind after whatever happened with the other case. So they let me do it on the phone again, and I'm okay with doing it either one. I want to do it down there better, but if it's easier for them to do it in their squad car on the phone, I'm okay with that. So Aguilar did not, Roberts did, and then the first one I did was Grego, I'm going by memory. I did him, so that's the only one that I was able to do.
Okay, so you've done Grego, you've done Roberts, Aguilar refused.
Aguilar, Chandler, and Dial is the only one that set one up for the fourth time. Remember, I set 3 of them up that he missed, and then on the fourth one, I went down there, and I wasn't able to.
Okay, so when you met with Sergeant Dial, you were at the substation?
Correct, the one on Stone. I think that's their main station.
All right, and so from what if I remember correctly from the emails, I don't see it right off the top of my head, but I'm looking at them, but if I remember correctly from the emails was that you're allowed to record audio, but you're not allowed to video or live stream while you're in there. That was part of the...
No, the actual order that you said, just follow their TP orders, and I did bring all that here. Let me, can I approach the bench?
Sure.
They're all 3 the same, I believe. I'll give you the colorful copy.
Okay, thank you. Let me just look at it. Okay, hold on. All right, so what I'm looking at here, also, Mr. Brown, is I found the email from legal at the Tucson Police Department, one of the legal advisors, and said that the following guidelines needed to be followed. All interviews must be conducted in person. No video recording or live streaming is allowed. Audio recording is permitted. That is what the guidelines that they had, the parameters that they had set prior to your interviews, and that those are the department guidelines that were referred to in the last minute entry.
Okay, will you look on page 27 of the packet I just handed you?
Yes.
It's 27. This is a continuation of the first 23.
Yes.
So on 27, that is their 3814-8. That is their policy on recording of interviews.
Yes, I'm reading that. But I'm also looking, what I'm telling you is that the parameters that legal department set out for your interviews with these officers on Wednesday, March 15th, as they said, no video recording or live streaming is allowed.
Okay.
So those were their parameters.
That's parameters that are not, these are their parameters. They made up extra things just for me. You cannot say I can't record an interview when it actually says here I can,
You were able to record an interview. They did not want you to live stream or.
no, they said video record. So I have, I could video record and I can audio record. It's an interview. That's what interviews are for. So here's their guidelines. 38.4-8 is what they're supposed to be following. Not Rebecca Cason's, their legal advisor, not following their own general orders. This is their general orders, Your Honor. This is what they're supposed to follow, not something that she says. And on their general orders, on the other thing, it says an officer cannot ask me to stop recording. I started out the interview by asking him if he was on duty. So I'm constitutionally able to record every officer when they're on duty in a place that I'm legally allowed to be. So their own general orders say that it's for the Constitution is why they have this, and you're telling me that they get to set their own orders, you know, and they walked out because I wouldn't answer the question whether I was video recording or live streaming. And I don't have to answer them questions at the interview. And I didn't have any equipment out like I do here. I didn't have any of that.
Mr. Darkan?
Apples and oranges, Your Honor. First of all, the general guidelines, the general orders are essentially silent, as Your Honor can see, in terms of video recording. The parameters that were set going in, which the state laid out on the record, were no video recording, no live streaming at South Stone. That is a reasonable time, place, manner restriction. It's a secure area. South Stone is the police station. Inside the police station, the rules of the street, so to speak, when an officer is on duty are different than when an officer is inside that police station in a secure area. The parameters that were set going in by Tucson Police Department per the legal advisor were that no video, no live streaming. You could audio, you could take notes, no problem there. But you can't video and live stream. If you want to answer the question as to whether he was video or live streaming, so that was it. It was over. Interviews are voluntary. So those are the parameters. He didn't want to follow those parameters, so they were out.
Do you have any information, Mr. Garcia, regarding the other two officers who did not respond to?
I do not. I do not. And I don't know if Mr. Brown went back and forth with Mr. Walker or Ms. Casson.
Or Ms.
Casson.
Oh,
Rebecca Casson.
all right, so.
I'd like to find her in contempt of court too, Rebecca Casson.
There's no showing of that.
No, yes, that's not up for debate right now, Mr. Brown.
Well,
Nor
last
is-
time we was
nor-
here.
Let me finish, please. Nor is finding the officer in contempt at this time. The parameters set forth specifically for this case by Ms. Casson are reasonable. I find that they're reasonable. I don't find that they are overly restrictive to you, and I don't think that, Officer Dial asking you whether you're, live streaming and you not answering is something that's outside of the realm of him being able to, choose to terminate the interview at that time. What my order was that you be allowed to conduct interviews and that you must adhere to those guidelines. And these were the guidelines I was referring to, that Ms. Casson set forth as their legal advisor. I cannot rewrite the general operating procedures, and I cannot, at this time, because it's not basically in front of this court, deal with Ms. Casson's ability or inability to fashion more guidelines with respect to the situation as it presents itself. Mr. Darkea, do you have anything to add with respect to those three officers and their, interviews?
I do not, other than if he wishes to do audio, he's free to do that. Also, the only other thing that would add is that there is relevant to this, within the courthouse, the administrative order that is currently in effect. Written by the Arizona Supreme Court Administrative Order 2019, number 142, with regard to recording within in and around the courthouse. That would include the common area. With that, Commissioner Crutch? Thank you. And would ask that following this.
You guys don't follow orders, so I don't know why you're calling this
Mr.
one.
Brown,
Following this, that the defendant be directed to turn the recorder off.
we went over this at the last hearing, Mr. Darkea, and, this court found that as long as it was not, impeding the ability of, the court to go forward with its, hearings, as long as victims or jurors were not being videotaped, that, the defendant would be allowed to have the recording on. And I'm going to stand by that order at the last hearing.
That's in the courtroom or out in the common area?
In the courtroom, they are allowed.
Okay, but what about the common area out there with Tucson police essentially control?
They control it in here
That is
too.
something that is under the purview of the presiding judge.
So that's under the purview of the presiding judge, and whatever happens out there happens.
His order, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so,
When do I get a
that
talk?
really doesn't give us an answer about what we're gonna do, going forward with this case.
But that would be up to Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, we've got two officers that have been, interviewed. We've got three officers who
Yeah.
have not.
None of them that have been interviewed was there during the crucial parts. That's what they're doing. And we ain't,
Mr. Darkea, who are the officers that the state would be calling, with regard to the two charges?
Let's see.
I see that the officer who gave the citation is Officer Chandler. He's one of the ones who has not submitted to,
Right.
interview.
Well,
when do I get addressed the issue?
essentially Chandler, and Dial are the ones listed on the,
And Aguilar.
Grieco and, Roberts.
All right, well,
And Aguilar, I put in to interview him also.
Okay.
And you told me I could.
all
He's
right.
the main officer that was there the whole time. He has the most information.
You told me Officer Aguilar has not responded. Is that the case with Officer Chandler as well?
Correct. Neither one of them have responded. And I'm still trying to get across that Officer Dial. I can't believe that's settled because it says right in their general orders, that I can secretly record, and all officers should assume that I'm recording. So you can't put extra conditions on me. It's unconstitutional to say I can't record the officer, in the course of his duty.
That's out in the street.
That's anywhere I'm legally allowed to be. And it also says that right here under Constitutional Orders 2200, page 1.
It's talking about recording of interviews, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, but, and he's talking about outside, then they're also governed by their orders that they can't ask me to stop recording. It's in their own constitutional orders under their, general orders under the 2200 constitutional issues. And I put that in the packet, it's page 28A.
Mr. Darkea, court is having, issue with the fact that these officers have not submitted to the audio interview. I understand the issue with, with Sergeant Dial, in that he submitted to the interview and then, exercised his, ability to terminate the interview due to the fact that, he did not know whether he was being live streamed.
Right.
So that is, I don't take an issue with that, but I take an issue with the fact that, this defendant is trying to conduct interviews and,
Of which
calling
ones?
them back.
Of which
Chandler, Aguilar, those are the ones, and I would like to see Sergeant Dial take care of his business here. I ordered them at the last hearing to submit to defense interviews. And the two that are we get radio silence from, they're in violation of that order. What I'm gonna do about that is, what I propose to do about that is I'm going to order that all three of those officers submit to the audio interview by the next court hearing.
Certainly.
And if not, the state's gonna need to show cause why their testimony should not be precluded.
Not a problem, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Brown, do you understand what I just said?
I don't agree with the only audio. We ain't got past that issue. They're violating their own laws. I can secretly do it. They can't stop me from exercising my constitutional rights. In 28B, under 2218, that says right there that individuals have a First Amendment right to record police officers in the public discharge of their duty. The first question I ask him if he's in the public discharge of his duty, he's getting paid. Then I ask him, the right to record is not limited to streets and sidewalks, but rather includes areas where individuals have the legal right to be present, including individuals' home or business or any private property where the person has a right to be present. I have a right to be present in there because I'm doing the interview. They can't stop me from video recording without violating the Constitution. And you are not above the Constitution either, Your Honor. So I know, so you can't say that I can't record when their own general orders is based on the Constitution. It says right here, and it says I am allowed to do it secretly, digitally, and digitally is the first thing on there that they say. Digitally means live streaming. So right there, I can digitally record, I can tape, I can auto record, etc. You guys don't follow your own rules. And if they followed their own general orders, just by asking me to stop recording is against their own general orders. And they rushed me out of the building, several officers, armed officers, rushed me out of the building again. And this is what happened. And I didn't say I was auto recording or video recording. I just wouldn't answer the question. Have you guys proved that I was? There's no proof that I was video recording or live streaming. And they know I wasn't live streaming because they watch my live streams. Every time I do, that's how come he missed the first three. Because I went live, he was watching it, and he wouldn't answer his phone or do the interview if I was live streaming. And there's nothing that says I can't live stream other than Rebecca Casson, Sergeant Dial, and his lieutenant. you know, that he said he was gonna check on. Nowhere in their general orders it mentions I can't live stream. So you can't put these ridiculous conditions on me that violate the Constitution. But I didn't even do that. So you ain't proved that I did that. He walked out. He's in contempt of court. I didn't answer his questions. I'm at that interview to ask the questions, not be bullied by him. I've been bullied by Tucson Police Department since 1993. So I'm not your average guy dealing with that. I know how to deal with these bullies. And that's what I did in the Air Force. I was in SAC. That's what we did. We bullied the bully. I was against the Soviet Union. They trained me to be like this. So you have to understand when somebody comes up and bullies me like they're doing now and you're doing now against my own constitutional rights that I fought for, I'm really angry about it.
I understand, Mr. Brown.
I don't think you do, though.
What I'm looking at right here is that I don't have Ms. Casson here, who is the legal advisor, to talk about what it is that she's doing or why she's doing it. I am looking at the 3814.8, and you're arguing that it does state digital tape, video, etc. It also says that a member may terminate an interview at any time. So I don't have that officer here to tell me what his reasonable grounds were or anything. So we're kind of at a standstill. We don't have the other side of the story, and that's part of the problem.
It says reasonable.
That's why I'm saying that I am ordering them to submit to the interview, and that if they don't, the state is gonna have to show cause why I should not preclude their testimony at the trial. You said earlier when we first started the hearing that one of the officers talked to you over the phone and you audio recorded it and you were fine with that.
Correct.
So,
But I live streamed it. He didn't stop it.
well,
I live streamed his audio. You got to remember, I cannot video.
give me 1 second, okay? I'm not upset with the fact that you live streamed your audio recording. The problem is that the Tucson Police Department set a parameter, and they specifically said that you needed to take care of your interviews at their house, and that if you did it at their house, these were their rules. So when I ordered that you take care of the interviews at their house, I said you have to do it with their rules. Now, if you're gonna do it over the phone, there are no rules. You can live stream, you can videotape, there's nobody there that's gonna tell you you can't do it. That's the difference here.
But their rules are their general orders, Your Honor, not what Rebecca Casson says. That's what I'm trying to get across here.
I understand what you're trying to.
This has already been decided. They wrote the general orders and they revised them when the chief of police came in 2016. If they wanted to change it, they should have did it then, not now for Mark Brown, not because, not for me. That's what they're doing it for me. And remember, I never said I was video recording. They ended the interview. I didn't tell them I was video recording. You can't prove that I was because there's no way to do that because I wasn't.
But this hearing is not to decide whether or not Mark Brown was live streaming on that day.
He walked out of the interview.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you that's not what this hearing is for, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I went all the way down there, to South Stone, everything like they said. And he walked out of the interview because I would not answer his questions. They're control freaks. I'm not going to answer their questions. You got to understand, I'm there to interview them. They're not going to interview me. They're going to get that chance, but not now. So I suggest, I would like to ask you to have them follow their own general orders and not Rebecca Casson. So if they followed 3814-8, we wouldn't even be talking here. Because right in there, you can assume I'm going to be audio recording, and you can assume that I'm going to be video recording because I'm allowed to secretly record them. Because it says right there I'm allowed to.
I'm not going to argue the general operating procedures versus Rebecca Casson's legal letter to you.
And that wasn't a legal letter. It wasn't certified. Just because Rebecca Casson chimed in and started interfering with my due process. That's what she's doing. She don't get to do that. Who is she to say that she can have their officers not follow their own general orders. You know, she should be reading 3814-8 before she tries to tell me that. Because I've wasted already 4 times with Sergeant Dial. And I don't even know if I'm gonna waste my time going down there again. Because I don't think he's gonna show up, and if he does, he's not gonna, you know, he's gonna walk out when the questions get tough. That's what he's doing.
All right, so hearing you say that, Mr. Brown, in order for it to kick in that, you know, that possibly his testimony would be precluded, you still have to give it the shot, okay? Because if you come in here and tell me at the next hearing, I didn't even try, then we're back where we started. So if you try to talk to them and they refuse to talk to you, those 3 officers, by the next court hearing, then it's gonna be up to Mr. Garcia to
So,
tell me why they
so-
won't be precluded.
Are we gonna do it by phone? Because that's what we did with Dial. I mean, with the other ones, they did it by
That's up to
phone.
Mr. Brown, Your Honor.
Well, it's
It ain't
kind
up to
of-
me.
It's kind of not up to Mr. Brown, Mr.
Yes,
Garcia. I think
it's
that's
not.
what the problem is that
If he gets on,
Mr. Brown tried to talk to them over the phone, and there was some back and forth that it looks like it got, I don't know what happened, but, that's what caused, Ms. Casson to set those parameters, to say, all interviews will be subject to the following guidelines. They must be conducted in person, which is, outside of the norm. So obviously, that was part of the problem. So to go back and say, we can't just act like, oh, Mr. Brown could have interviewed him over the phone this whole time, because that was not the case. They didn't want him to do that. And then apparently since then, 2 officers have spoken to him via telephone. So I think that's what the issue is.
okay, so just to clarify, is he going to do it over the phone, or is he going to go down to South Stone?
I think, Mr. Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, you're willing to do the interview however they give it to you. Is that
Yes,
Okay?
but without their dumb parameters,
Nope,
you know?
nope,
Well,
nope,
the
nope,
parameters
nope.
about video and live streaming, that's not something I have any control over at this time. But
Well, you just said,
what I'm concerned with is whether we're going to get this case moving forward, on the criminal complaint against you at this time. So you've gotta give it a try. Sergeant Dustin Dial, Officer David Chandler, Officer Alan Aguilar are ordered to submit to an interview by the next court hearing. If they do not, the state will have to show cause why their testimony should not be precluded at trial. Mr. Darkey, I trust you're gonna let them know that.
Yeah, but to clarify, if it is conducted at South Stone, it is subject to those guidelines.
That's correct, Mr. Brown. If it is in person, if it's in person at South Stone, then the parameters from the Wednesday, March 15th email must be followed. If it's not,
And when I say guidelines, to be clear, the guidelines that no video recording, no live streaming.
that's correct,
And
on March 15th.
They're
I'm
they're
not-
That's
obviously
what's on the
allowed,
March 15th email.
right,
If
they're,
you conduct those interviews outside of the main station, Mr. Brown,
by doing this, you're violating my constitutional rights. You have to understand that. If you're telling me I can't go down to my public building and be there where I'm allowed to be and record my public officials, you are violating my constitutional right.
you're allowed to go to a public building, but you must follow the parameters, guidelines.
The unconstitutional
regulations
parameters you're
of
set-
that-
Yes.
Of that building.
Yes, that's unconstitutional parameters you're setting. I say I follow their general orders. If that's the parameters set before Mark Brown set foot in this courtroom here, that was what was done before he made these new things up. Just because,
That you have to take up with the legal department at Tucson Police.
no, I should not have to. They're not in charge of me. They're obviously in charge of him and you, but they're not in charge of me. They're violating my constitutional rights just like you are. So there's no difference, and I have a whole packet of things to get through. We're stuck on just one little thing that, and I talked to his supervisor about that, and he's the one that told me about 38, the one that I'm talking about here, 3816. He told me that if it actually says that, because he was asking me what questions they asked, his own supervisor, because I could not get a hold of him for 4 or 5 days after Sergeant Dial walked out. I was trying to get these interviews done. I put a lot of energy into doing it. And then I tried to get hold of him. I couldn't for 4 days. So finally, instead of going to his voicemail box and leaving so many messages, I asked for his supervisor. So then I started dealing with the supervisor. So I have a whole string of emails from that. And his supervisor told me to do what I'm doing, is to tell you that I asked him what parameters they want me to follow. And he told me he assumes it's this, 36, and he sent me that. Then I looked at it, and then I said, okay, if that's what parameters he wants me to follow, then I can do that, and he violated that already. That's what his supervisor told me to do. So the parameters are just like I read to him, and I put that in our emails just like that to him. And he says, in that case, you have a good case and bring it to you, because that's what they're supposed to follow. That's the parameters his boss thought he was going to follow, was the ones I showed to you on page, 27. So that's what he agreed on too, and that's his boss. And then, so if he walked out because I wouldn't answer the question that I was video recording, and that's what happened, then he could not have ended that interview if he was following the parameters that his boss thought I should follow, and I thought I should follow until I walked in here today, because I was coming in here today with that. That's why I printed that up in 3 copies and gave it to you, because his own boss told me that, and that they're supposed to follow their own general orders for interviews, not the ones they make up for Mark Brown.
Mr. Durkin?
I'm aware that Mr. Brown and Mr. Walker went back and forth. Essentially, there was a lot of, well, I presumed this to be the case. There was a lot of guessing. However, what we came down to, and what was decided the last appearance here, was that the parameters that were set out in the email from Ms. Casson were what was to control any in-person interview at the Southstone location. So, there's where we are. I'm aware that the general orders are essentially silent as to this particular situation in a police station or the main station at Southstone. The parameters, again, going in, as Your Honor has been back and forth and over, if he goes to Tucson Police Department officer's house, the main station, he can't walk in and live stream and videotape. Can't do it.
My ruling on this matter stands. What are the other issues you want me to talk about, Mr. Brown?
So what's your ruling, that you're not going to follow the Constitution? You're agreeing to that?
My ruling is that the officers are ordered to submit to an interview by the next court hearing, following the parameters that are set forth, and the state must show cause why their testimony should not be precluded if they do not comply with this order. What is the other issue that you said?
Okay, there's several other issues. Okay, the next one is the Officer Gutnick. I want to interview him also. And I put in the motion in the state, I put it in this packet, and the state gave me a response. And it was a bunch of fluff about fishing expeditions and about personal information, training records that wasn't relevant. What I asked you to give me is the information based on this case. I'm the one that made the complaint to them. And if you look at number 24, that first one on the list there, that was the Officer Stanley's professional standards complaint that was already investigated under Officer Channel, received discipline as a result of this investigation. This is the exact opposite of what they sent to me. And it's the same ops number. So that guy said he investigated this, and I want that investigation. It ain't about training records or nothing. I want what they did on this investigation because I'm the one that made it. And in this report right here on number 24, he can make a records request for the full investigation. This was decided on December. So if this is available to the public, then why ain't it to me? I'm just asking that I don't have to wait this long because you put in a records request like this, and we did already, it takes years. I want it done before my trial so I get due process. So I need that information, and I need to interview him because right here it says he did both. And if you look at the letter that I got, I think it's number 20 on the last packet, number 23, I believe. Yep, number 23. Number 23 and number 24 conflict with each other. And it's the same number. Complaint number. Let's see here. I'm sorry, it's 22 on the last packet.
I see that. I see what you're talking about.
Yep, number 23. They don't offer me to get it, though, like they did to Mr. Tripolini. And they said it was unfounded. Which is it? Is it unfounded? Or was he disciplined? I need to interview him to find out. He's part of the cover-up. He's part of the guys that threw me out, too, and threw the other people out.
Mr. Verkamp?
Well, as referenced on page 4, he hasn't made a showing that he's entitled to interview Officer Goodnight. Not involved in this case. We're not calling him.
And I want that records. I want the OPS 22-0381.
That's a separate issue.
I want that, and I want to interview him both.
If he wants an IA jacket of some sort, that's subject to an in-camera inspection.
It's already over, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, the last time that we were here, we talked about the professional standards complaint.
Correct.
You were gonna file a written motion.
I did.
Requesting specifically which evidence you sought.
And I did. It was a short one, but it was the evidence, this op number, what I'm talking about. That's all I wanted. I want that op number.
Okay, so it's not really a specific, you're not telling me specifically what it is you're looking for in that, and what is your,
I just told you, the two conflict. The two guys conflict. I want to know which is it. Is it 22 or is it 24? Which one is true? That he's been disciplined or he hasn't? It's the exact same case number. It's the exact same thing, and it's about my case as well as the other guy's case. So I should be able to interview him, and I should get that case number because I want to know what it says. It's already been released. It's over in December. And if Mr. Tripolini can call down there and get it, after he waits that time, then I should be able to get that faster so I can have it before my trial. I need that before my trial, is all I'm saying.
Mr. Garcia, although Mr. Brown's written motion did not set forth the reason why he needed it or the specifics, he seems to have done that orally now. What is your response?
Well, I'm not seeing which numbers he's referring to, what
Alright, so
document.
in the
24.
in the previous packet,
Okay.
that he gave us with all of those emails, if
Okay.
you look at page 22. It is a letter to Mr. Brown from Lieutenant Cornea,
Okay,
in which he states that the complaint was closed as unfounded. And do you see it?
looking for it. I don't see that it's been scanned in.
You wanna look at it?
Certainly.
Right there, I'm going to give it to the court's file. It's marked as page 22 from Mr. Brown's last submission. And the contradictory paper is the new one that was just submitted to us.
We asked for some time to investigate, to check this out with Tucson Police.
Here's the original
If
one.
I could have, if I could have copies, I'll bring them up and go to work on it, and certainly by the next court
Mr.
date.
Brown gave you a copy of the new packet, correct?
Yep.
I've got the new packet, I just need that other.
We can give that to you.
Here's the original, if you wanna see it. That's the original,
No, it's
from, right from them,
That's all.
right as it came out of the,
Well, at this point, I find the defendant has shown substantial need. I'm gonna order that it's submitted for in-camera review.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Brown, what else, what's the next?
okay. So you're gonna put it under review to get it, or I get that information?
going to be submitted to the court, so, and I'm gonna look at it in chambers by myself?
So they're gonna submit it to you?
Yes.
Okay, that's gonna be the investigation,
22-0381, those are the only numbers that are
Yep.
listed on number 22 and number 24 of defense submissions.
yeah, and then the one on, also the other ones with dial and all them, the same thing is on page 23. That's 22-0412. The same things apply to that. That's over dial, all the other ones. So I also want that one. That's, it's on number 23 of the last packet.
So that's OPS 0381.
OPS 220381.
No, this one's, number 22-0412. And it's page 23 of the packet I gave you last time. The only difference is this one's against Sergeant Dial, Officer Aguilar, Officer Montano, and Aguilar and Roberts.
There was no contradictory
I was just
language.
gonna ask you, Mr. Brown, do you have anything that's contradicting this letter? You don't have any, you're not suggesting that there are any contradictions to this one, is that correct?
On this one, I'm just suggesting, this report is about me, and it was made by me, and it's already been concluded. What I'm saying is, I want that before I interview him. I'd like to have it, but because I'd like to have all this information before I interview him, so I'll have some, more information. But I might have to interview him twice if I don't, if I get this information afterwards. But I need this information because it's about me. It ain't training records, it's nothing. This is about me. All these officers, the only difference is Chandler's not in it, but all these officers were investigated on what they did to me. So I'm entitled to that information since the case was already concluded. If they waited till after this case was over like they usually do, then that wouldn't be a problem right now. But they took this complaint the day it happened. I think I did it the next day. And they clicked on the box saying that they're not waiting for the case to conclude. And I got that paper too. It says they're not waiting for the case to conclude, they're gonna go on with the investigation, and they did.
All right, well, Mr. Durkee, in light of the fact that, there's two separate complaints, but they are related to the officers who were all involved in specifically about this one incident, I am going to, put them both on this order.
And that's OPS what?
22-0412.
22-0412.
12. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Brown, what else?
All right, next. So I'm still unclear on, so if Officer Dial decides to do it by phone and they call me in, then I'm gonna be live streaming it just to prove a point to you guys, just as a matter of, principle. Because you just said them rules apply only if they make me go to South Stone. And if I go to South Stone, then I just gotta, I have to sneakily do everything I'm gonna do according to their own general orders.
No.
I don't have control over that, Mr. Brown, but I will tell you that they do have the right to terminate the interview. So, what is your next legal issue that you'd like to talk to the court about?
Well, we ain't got this one resolved yet. You're saying that I can't go into my own public building and record. That's what you're telling me.
My order stands the way that it is, Mr. Brown.
So if they do it by phone, I'll still be able to live stream it, because you already said that that's not the
If you do
issue.
it by phone, nobody's gonna be standing over you wondering what you're doing. right?
But if he's watching my live stream, he's gonna say, just like he did 3 times before, this ain't gonna be the first time, Your Honor. 3 times before, he watched my live stream, wouldn't call me because I was live streaming. And he didn't say, the first time he didn't say that he was gonna do it. He set the second one, then he did it again, then he set the third one, then he did it again. Now we're on the 4th one. I drove down there complying with all their stuff. I never said I was video recording. I complied, and they ended it anyway. So I don't see the purpose in any of this. If they would have just did it by voice in the first place, I would have live streamed it, and I wouldn't be able to video him, because that's what he's worried about. He don't want to lie with his face, which it really doesn't matter a whole lot to me, whether it's his voice or if I put a picture of his face and make a bobblehead out of him. It doesn't matter to me. But I'm going to do one or the other. I already got his picture, so I really don't care. Whichever way we do it, I just want to get it done. They're worried about lying under oath. I know what their problem is. And if they want to convict me, they're going to have to lie under oath. It's as simple as that.
I'm ruling on that stand, Mr. Brown. And I've also ruled on the professional standards complaint. Is there anything else you want to bring up in terms of legal issues?
It's fruitless. It's fruitless, though.
So Your Honor has put down that he can't video or live stream
I
at
have
South
not.
Stone,
What I
at
have
South
said-
Stone.
What I have said is that he must comply with whatever the guidelines are that have been set up by the Tucson Police Department.
So,
Well, here's where we get into the weeds, Your Honor. Mr. Brown's contention is that the general orders allow him to do that. This court's ruling clearly does not allow him to do that.
What this court's ruling says is that it must comply with the guidelines, and the TPD guidelines that I have read, set forth by legal counsel,
Right.
state that he cannot go into their building and live stream.
Or video. Or digital.
Video. He may audio
Digital
record.
or,
He may audio record,
right.
and if
So-
they submit to audio recording, if they submit to recording, over the telephone, obviously that's going to be audio recorded as
Right,
well.
right.
What Mr. Brown does with that audio recording, once he has taken it, is not something that any of us can do anything about. He cannot live stream it at the time according to their, well, I guess that's the.
If I'm at
that's what
South Stone.
Live streaming means, right? Live. So,
So you're basically saying, both of you are saying, I can't do any of the things that it says that I can do under theirs. I can digital record everything it says that I can do. You're saying I can't. And this prosecutor right here, you're both telling me that I can't record inside a public building. Is that what's happening here?
I'm telling you, you have to follow whatever guidelines that. public
Whatever they
has
say.
set forward.
So if they tell me to get on my knees, I have to get on my knees. Is that what you're saying?
Then you have other ways to fight against it, Mr. Brown, but this court is not one of them.
Well, this court's violating my constitutional rights, because I'm allowed to go to that public building. And if they was following their own orders.
It's not something that I can do anything about, Mr. Brown. You're free to, special action this up to the Superior Court. We can do that if you want.
If last time I was here, you actually told me that you have no control over Tucson Police Department. If that's the case, then I don't see how you can be on that bench, because you're supposed to be over the police department. You're letting the Tucson Police Department tell you the rules, not their own pre-written rules here. You're going by what Rebecca Kaysen said. And I want to know who she is. Does she work for the city? Does she have to follow their general orders? Does she have a bar license? I want to know a lot of information on her, because she's the one running this court.
It's not something I can answer for you, sir.
Well, you're not going by their own general orders. You're going by whatever she says and whatever he says. I mean, that's what's happening here.
All right, well, Mr. Brown, the orders have been given on both of the issues that you brought up. Are there any
Okay,
other
yeah, the
issues?
third issue is, so you got the two case numbers, and I want to interview Officer Gutnick, because he has to explain the two differences in the two letters. I need to know that before I proceed. So I want to interview
That
him.
may come after I look at the, Office of Professional Standards. That's why I'm going to look at it in camera.
Okay.
And then I will make that order.
So you're going to look at the two complaints and for me to interview him.
I will decide whether that's going to happen.
Your Honor, there's been a lot of commentary coming from.
Yeah, whoever's in the back, please keep your comments down. We're recording this.
Yeah. We got enough
Don't-
BS coming out of his mouth.
don't interrupt. Mr. Brown,
Yeah.
stop. All right, so we're gonna set this matter off to give you time, to give those officers time to come into compliance. Mr. Garcia, you might wanna give them a call. You prefer afternoon still, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
All right. August 31st, 2:00.
All right.
Can you, I'm gonna keep your focus on the site, that's what keeps coming up. So and then you choose to start here, copy of the packet, the previous packet, that is now, submitted. If there's a previous packet in there that's also numbered, that you give us.
Let's not straighten shit up, boots before entering.
That's our starting point. Just for now.
Mr. Brown? If I can have this guy right here, please.
Who else is here for court? Oh, Mr. Garcia. All right. What's your name?
Lena? There you go.
Ms. Samaniego?
Yes.
All right, and the gentleman in the back?
Tuesday?
Thank you. Mr. Nemec?
Yes, I've got Mr. Butler with me here.
All right, let's go ahead and bring Mr. Butler up.
Also me.
What's your name? Oh, yes. Mr. Deshini was here first, Mr. Garcia. Say your name, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I'm just standing there fucking, and the dude fucking hit me, I looked at
Ooh.
the bus driver and I said,
That's how you record your court hearings, guys. Always record. Them guys are liars on the bench. Always record everything they say to you.
I didn't fucking stop. And this some bitch stole my fucking phone.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
You did good, bro.
Yeah.
You know how to talk.
Yeah, brother.
All you do is get angry at them and give them shit.
Dude, that fucking prosecutor's a piece of shit right
Yeah,
there.
he is.
Boy, that guy's an idiot, dude.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Hey,
That motherfucker, that fucker in there does not have nothing for the community, dude. That prosecutor has nothing for the community.
Investigators called down, had a good ass video with that.
so anyway, so they don't have to follow their own orders.
Right.
You know, but they expect us to.
Yeah, she just proved it right there.
Yeah.
She just proved it live on the fucking thing right there, man. do as we say, not as the Constitution says.
Yeah. Did Slinky leave?
Yeah, he probably jumped off this fucking balcony.
Took too long for him? He wants you to kiss him their ass more than what I do. Slinky.
How can you though, man? It's just so blatant that we're
Yep.
out there like that.
Hey, I was hoping he was live.
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it again.
Yeah, I know.
You know how
Yeah, we know how they are.
that would have been a good night.
Yeah.
That would have been
All right, so basically, the three things I wanted is that got to interview the officer and then them 2 reports. Just you guys didn't know, but they sent me a letter. And all this case law on that you can't go on a fishing expedition, which means, and they're saying that you can't get their training records. Everything that they give me in case law is training records. I'm not after their training records of what they did that's irrelevant 20 years ago. I'm asking what they did to me. And that's what they don't get. That they can't deny that using case law that says you can't get their training records how they was trained 20 years ago because it's not relevant how they act today. But I was just trying to get a report that says that that says that they was found to no wrongdoing of what they did to me and him. Remember, there's 2 of the letters with Chandler. One says one thing, the other says the other thing. That's what I was proving to him. He knows that. They can't have it both ways. Either he was disciplined, or he wasn't.
This court is 100% completely unconstitutional. It's fucking
Yeah.
piece of shit
There was
judge.
no shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely out of the
Oh,
middle.
their
You can't
building.
go into their house.
Their house.
Their house? Get the fuck out of here. What's wrong with
Yeah.
these fucking people?
That's our house.
That's crazy, dude.
See, and like I said, and the last
I'm getting
time,
pissed, bro. Like,
oh, you got my case, huh?
I
Or is that
did
yours?
your case. Sorry, I've been swinging it around, but it doesn't have anything in it, so.
Yeah, no, it's empty.
Yeah, Vernon left it there, so I figured I'd grab
Okay,
it.
yeah.
I think he might have taken off.
Yeah.
when he got there.
So anyway,
I'm a witness, huh?
yep. Where do you go? Yep.
Of course. Cameras are a big deal here.
big time.
Yeah.
It's like fucking bringing a gun to Mexico.
Do you ever wonder just what the fuck are they so afraid of?
And what
are
the
they
fuck is
doing?
wrong with these lying piece of shit traitors to this fucking country, man?
Well, here's the thing, Mark, your line of questioning first should have been, Your Honor, did you take an oath to uphold the Constitution?
Yeah. Yes.
I did. And is my First Amendment right one of those constitutional rights?
Yes.
Why are you going to let this TPD officer permit you to violate my rights?
Yeah, and
Remember, I can
You're the judge.
I can still record, but I have to do it with all my hidden things, my glasses, my pen, my 30 other devices that I got. I have a USB camera.
Just do it on your phone and you record it like you want it.
Yeah.
Do it on the
I'm
phone
gonna.
and live stream the phone. If
Yes.
you won't do it, he won't even do it then.
Yes. I can't. See, here's the thing. She says I can't live stream if I go down there.
Right.
Here's the thing. I can't live stream down there anyway. They put you in that back room, they jam it. You
Well,
got no,
see,
you
but You're
can't.
fighting at the wrong thing. Just
I know.
record them on the telephone.
I am.
And live stream it right
Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll,
Because she
when I'm
told you
done.
right there in court, there's no parameters if you do it on the phone.
Yeah. But anyway, nothing good's gonna come out of this court.
Yeah, right there. Legal services. As soon as you open the door, that's when this was like a few months ago. It's a good video.
Oh, hey, where did he? Oh, where he went to where?
down to get snacks.
Okay, good. I'll meet him down there. All right, guys.